Hello everyone, my name's Patrick Maher. I'm a guitar teacher from Adelaide, and I'm also part of the production team for Make Music Day Adelaide 2020. I'm actually running the live stream for you right now. I'm sitting over there at my computer typing away because this is a pre-recorded segment. I'm just too busy to be able to make sure that the live stream goes out to you guys in one piece and present to you at the same time. So let's get stuck in, shall we? The first thing I'd like to do is acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I work and live and where we're gathered today. I'm on the land of the Kaurna people in Adelaide, and later in this segment you'll see my brother. He's on the land of the Paramonk people in Mount Barker. And we'd both like to recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. The other thing we'd like to do before we get started is point out some of the charities that we've got highlighted today. You'll probably notice some of the artists all day have been highlighting charities that they have some connection to. The production team, we've chosen to highlight the Inkpot Arts Heartlands Indigenous Cultural Program. Myself, I've chosen to highlight Autism SA as an organisation which I have some connection to. And my younger brother, you'll see later, his name's Max, and he'd like to highlight the Australian Cervical Cancer Foundation. And all of those links we found in the sidebar of the video over here. Oh, maybe it's over here. I should know this, shouldn't I? Anyway, the link's on the screen somewhere. Check them out. And I guess we'll start the workshop today. I'm not actually performing anything for you today. I'm going to do a little bit of a mini guitar lesson about one single thing: your posture. How do you hold a guitar? I think it's the number one thing that people get wrong. I think it's probably the number one thing that I could talk about today that anyone will get some benefit from, no matter what level of performance guitar playing you're at. So, first thing, how do you hold a guitar? Well, let's start with this acoustic guitar. Most people start with an acoustic guitar. And let's start with sitting. When you're sitting, you've got your legs slightly apart in line with your shoulders. Oh, let's put that over there. Just keep them in line with your shoulders, nice and easy. And nice straight back, and shoulders back. Just like you're sitting for your school photos, or a job interview, or you're wearing a suit or something. Shoulders back, nice and smart. And you're probably saying, "Oh, Patrick, that's not really very cool." Yeah, well, the guitar's cool enough. Shoulders back, back straight, knees in line with your shoulders. The reason we're doing this is because it gives us there's a biomechanical reason for it. It frees up our arms to move exactly the way we want them to do, and long term, it's better for your body. Okay, so we know how to sit. Where do we put the guitar? Most people hang it on their right leg, about an inch away from their body at the base, and then they'll tuck it into their chest at the top. This is how most people will hold an acoustic guitar, and we'll get to the neck angle a little bit later on. Sometimes you'll see people holding a classical guitar. There might be a flamenco player. They might have their guitar set on their left leg, and they'll create a nice little cradle between their left and right legs. They might have their left leg raised on a platform, and then they'll play from there. With your right leg, you can also raise your right leg over your knee to give yourself a little bit extra height, or you can have a little platform on the ground, a little footstool, the rung of a stool if you like. However you'd like to raise your leg, that's fine, you can raise that up. What about an electric guitar? Electric guitars are shaped quite a bit differently to an acoustic guitar, so let's have a quick talk about them. There are a lot of different shapes of electric guitars. Here's a typical one, it's called a Les Paul shape. This one, you can easily just sit it on your leg, just like the acoustic guitar, and off you go. There's not too much difference. You can also sit it on your left leg and do the same thing. Sit on your right leg and raise your knee. You'll probably find when you're playing an electric guitar that you almost always want to raise your knee. If you're playing an acoustic guitar, probably sit like that, it's quite fine. The reason for that is you want to raise the neck up, which we'll get to a little bit later in the video. Okay, so that's for sitting. What about standing? Well, when you're standing, you use a guitar strap such as this one. Chuck it over your body, get your cool hair out of the way, And you want to try and set this guitar strap up so that when you stand, the guitar sits in line with where you were when it was sitting. So this particular one, so I just filmed another take of this video just a few minutes ago, which I got wrong. Whoops. This particular strap is set a little bit low for me, so I'm just going to tighten that up a little bit. Okay. There we go. So the guitar is comfortably sitting on my knee, and also it's comfortably sitting, it's not quite tight, but it's comfortable. So now when I stand up, let's pick a point on my shirt. Here we go. The bottom of Tim Minchin's beard is perfectly in line with the top of the guitar here. And when I stand up, his beard's still in line with the guitar. It's actually a little bit too high. There we go. Alright, nice and comfortable, standing up, sitting down, it's in the same spot. There's something else that's going slightly weird with this particular guitar. When I stand, it wants to sit itself in the front of my body, where the centre of weight is in line with the centre of my body. So that's about the middle pickup. Obviously that's not in line with either of my legs, so when I sit, instead of lining up here, it twists off to the side. It's not going to happen with every guitar, it's just this particular guitar because the arch in the body is offset to the side. If we did the same thing with that other electric guitar, you will find that the arch of that guitar is a little bit more forwards, and so the body will sit, the other way around. The body will sit in line with your body a little bit better, and so it will fall in exactly the same spot when you're standing as when you're sitting. But that's fine. That's, the guide is set your guitar strap so that the height of the guitar is pretty much in line with where it was when you were sitting as where it is when you're standing. Okay, now we've got the guitar, we're sitting right, we're standing right, the guitar's in a good spot. Where do we put our arms? Well, let's start with our right arm, because it's probably easier. With our right arm on an electric guitar, you don't put your arm anywhere. It does not have to touch the guitar. Completely free. Absolute freedom. That's again why we want our shoulders nice and straight, sitting back, because it gives us free shoulder movement. You really want that so you can do like cool rock star windmills and whatnot. An electric guitar is quite thin. There's not really much body there to lean on. This particular guitar has a little bit of a shaved edge on the end so that it doesn't get in the way. And if I want to, I can rest my palm on the bridge here as a guide for where my fingers are going to be placed. Or I can actually rest my fingers on the pick guard. Or if I'm playing fingerstyle, I can rest my finger on the strings themselves and use that as my guide. For an acoustic guitar, or a guitar with a thicker body, slightly different. This guitar is quite wide, and I can't actually get my arm over it without touching the body. So I need to rest my arm on the body of the guitar, somehow. Most people, when they do this, spin this way so you can see how I tilt. This isn't good posture, it's a demonstration. Most people, when they pick up an acoustic guitar and swing their right arm over it, they will lock their elbow in place right on the corner, which reduces the freedom of movement that you have, because your elbow is now, the base of your elbow is now rubbing against the corner of the guitar, right here. You don't have that freedom of movement. It really restricts you from moving. It actually cuts off the blood flow to your hand. So what you should be doing when you've got a guitar which is slightly thicker that forces you to rest your arm on it, just bring your arm forwards a little bit. Give yourself that freedom of movement, about 1.5 inches, maybe 2. Complete freedom of elbow movement at this point. So that's pretty much it. That's nice and easy. Now, that's our right arm, it's covered. Oh, I haven't showed you when you're standing up. When you're standing up with an electric guitar, once again, your arm is free, doesn't need to rest on the guitar. You can rest your wrists, your fingers, whatever. Fingers on the strings, fingers on the pick guard. You don't need to be touching the guitar with your right arm. Something else with this one, when you're holding a guitar with your an acoustic guitar, with your right arm resting on the guitar, it's going to keep the guitar in place. You're not going to drop it. It's not going to go anywhere. It's going to be quite secure. When you've got an electric guitar, again, they're usually quite well balanced, and it's not going to drop anywhere. If you let go of it, it might go this way. It might go this way, but it's certainly not going to go this way and onto the floor because you're not holding it with your right arm. So there's really no harm. You're not going to drop your guitar just because your right arm is not holding it. Okay, so that's our right arm covered. Now the most complicated part of this whole exercise is our left arm. What do we do with our left arm? Well, there's a lot of things we do with our left arm. I'm going to start with a couple of reference points. The first one, the inside of our elbow, fleshy little bit on the inside of our elbow, the middle of our wrist on the palm side. So the way we find that, put your thumb and pinky finger together, and just find the middle bit where the two parts of skin meet, and that create a little crevice. That's the centre of our wrists for this purpose. Elbow, centre of wrists, and then the tip of your second finger. We want to keep that in a nice straight line. We don't want this, we don't want that, you do want this. Nice and straight. So that's part one. The second thing we want to keep in mind is we want to have our wrist on the top side, which is actually going to be the bottom side when we're playing the guitar. We want our wrist to be flat pretty much all the time. We obviously playing the guitar, it's an instrument where you reach around. You might have some bend to it. We certainly don't want this. And we certainly don't want this either. Nice and flat. We want most of the curl of our fingers to be doing the work, not the curl of our wrist. And the one last thing we want to keep in mind is when we're playing, usually we want to have between our forearm and our upper arm at the elbow joint a nice 90-degree angle. Pretty simple, right? 3 simple rules. Arm in line with itself, wrist nice and flat, 90-degree angle. Let's apply it to the guitar. So, I'm sitting straight, my knees are in line with my shoulders, my guitar strap's on, it's in a nice comfortable spot, sitting on my right leg, sorry. Where do I put my hand? How do I actually get my hand onto the guitar? Well, your thumb does all the work. Tilt this way so you can see. Thumb on the back, just on the pad, fleshy bit of your thumb. And it needs to be free to move upwards or downwards, or even over the top. Not often though. In order for our thumb to be able to be free to do that, to have that movement, we need to not have the neck of the guitar resting against our palm. And this is probably something that you might do as a beginner. You'll tend to support the guitar with your palm, and you'll hold it back with your right arm. Sorry, the palm of your left hand. Like I said before, you don't need to. You're not going to drop the guitar. It's weighted in such a way that it will fall into your body first before it ever falls out onto the floor. So we don't need to have our wrist underneath, our palm underneath holding the guitar. We just want to have our thumb. Now the thumb actually has enough weight in it to move the guitar up and down. With a finger on the front, there's enough pressure there. Even just in the grippy part of your thumb itself, there's enough in that to move the guitar around pretty much wherever you need it when you're playing. So we've got our thumb on the back of the guitar. How does that apply to our arm and our fingers and everything else? Well, we make that work by moving the neck of the guitar forwards and backwards, or upwards and downwards. For example, let's play at the top end of the bottom end of the guitar. I'm going to place my thumb on the back. I'm just going to place these fingers here on the first string, 4 in a row. I'll just go with 3, 2 in a row. Alright. Now, if I spin this way, have I got my 3 points in line? My wrist and my elbow are in line. My second finger is in line, that's good. But the guitar itself, the neck, is kind of on an angle. Don't want that, we want to have a 90 degrees. So I'm going to pull it towards myself. Pulling the guitar neck towards me creates a nice T here. So now my wrist, elbow and finger are in line, and the neck of the guitar is in line. Have I got my 90 degrees? Yeah, pretty much. And have I got a flat wrist? I could tilt it up a little bit to get a flatter wrist. And there we are. Fantastic. What about if I'm playing up here, on the top part of the guitar? Well, I can bring my arm in, and all of a sudden my elbow, wrist and fingers are not in line anymore. If I put them there, and I take the guitar away, do you reckon that looks like a nice straight line? Not really. So there's something else we can do. We can actually push the guitar away That'll give us a 90-degree angle from our hand to the neck of the guitar. It'll give us a 90-degree angle at our elbow, give us a flat wrist, and it will line up our finger, wrist and elbow. Perfect. If we're having a little trouble with that, we can always tilt the guitar upwards as well at the same time. That's on an electric guitar. It still works while you're standing. Let's try it again. I'm standing up, I've got my guitar sitting nicely here. I'm going to play a chord over here. I'll play a bar chord. Doesn't look too good like that, does it? Move this chair out of the way. Oops. Doesn't look too good because I've got this nice horrible bent elbow there, bent wrist. I haven't got the 90 degrees. It's not really going well. I can tilt the guitar up and I can pull it towards myself. That'll give me my 90 degrees on my arm and neck of the guitar. It's straightened out my wrist quite a bit. Still not perfect. I can tilt it up a little bit more if I want. Got my 90 degrees in my elbow, pretty much. Flat wrist, everything's in line. Perfect. When I'm playing up here, I can tilt the guitar again. I can push it away. There's something else I can do to make it a little bit easier to get my hand in line. I can use my stage area, some sort of foldback speaker, a prop, piece of set, raise a leg on it, rest the guitar on my leg, and now I've got a little bit more purchase on the guitar to be able to move it forwards and backwards, upwards and downwards to line up my hand. So if I spin this way just for you, guitar's resting on my leg, I can now get my fingers on the side, perfect wrist movement, perfect 90 degrees, and everything is now in line, and I can move it forwards and backwards as I need to. That pretty much covers it. Don't forget, at any time, your guitar can move forwards and backwards, upwards and downwards. You can also slide it across your body, forwards and backwards, left and right, I suppose. Everything applies when you're standing, when you're sitting. For your left arm, it's always the same. 1, 2, 3 points in line, flat wrist, 90-degree elbow. The reason we're doing all this is you don't want to end up at the physio or at the doctor because you've hurt your wrist. I can show you a bad example of that. We're playing a bar chord here, and I've really got to strain, I've got to squeeze quite tight to get that, that extra bulge in my wrist at the top here. That looks very uncomfortable. All my muscles in my hand are going nuts. My forearm's all quite tense and horrible. If I'm going to do that for hours, you might play a gig for 2 hours, that's not going to be good for you. What will be good, propping your leg up, resting the guitar on it, relaxed elbow, relaxed wrist, everything's in line, looks really good, fantastic. Plus you can really play into this, you can put your guitar up there, you can stand your legs apart or whatever, you can lean into it, you can make it look really cool and still be quite healthy for your arm. There's one more thing I want to talk about. In terms of strap height for your body. This all works for the guitar being up here, in the same position it would be if I was sitting. What if I was extra cool, and I drop the guitar strap down somewhere here, and I'm like, I'm in Metallica or something, It looks really cool. Have you got good posture though? Probably not, but you still can. If I'm playing in a band like Green Day or Metallica or something like that, I might get bar chord there. I don't have a very good wrist. It doesn't look very good for my posture. I can relax that by the way that I play. I can tilt the guitar up. That'll help me alert as well. Bring the guitar forwards and backwards. If I'm playing a solo, I still have that same problem where I don't have a good wrist movement here. I don't have a good elbow. Again, find a prop, bring your guitar up, play the solo. Or this way. It works either way. And then you can still drop it back down for the easier parts. And you can keep playing, and it's not too bad. So, honestly though, I know it looks cool, but the guitar is cool enough without hurting your wrists. Haven't really got anything else I want to talk to you about posture. And I noticed as well, I haven't played any music for you, so now I'm going to palm off to my brother, and he doesn't play guitar, he plays something completely different.
Hello, my name is Max, and I'm going to play the piano.